You have felt that your voice has been silenced over these last 3 years, haven't you? It seems that suddenly the world around you stopped listening. The doors that once opened easily have been locked, and you found yourself in a wilderness where your words seem to carry no weight. But pay attention, because this Saturday is not just another day on the calendar. The silence that God imposed on your life during this long period of 3 years was not punishment. It was preparation. At this moment, the voice you held back, the truth you retained, and the identity that was forged in secret are ready to echo. You are not the same person who began this journey. In this message, we will walk through the exact map of what you have lived through. By the end, you will recognize the silent signs that prove your time of exile has come to an end. You will understand the spiritual purpose behind being isolated from everything familiar. And before we finish, I will give you a declaration that is the key to this new cycle opening up. Do not rush away, because what is being revealed here is the answer you sought while staring at the ceiling during sleepless nights. You have been feeling a tiredness that sleep does not fix, an exhaustion that comes from the soul, from trying to maintain a facade of normalcy while everything inside was being rearranged. You know those conversations that once made sense, that were your safe harbor and now seem to echo as if inside an empty room. That emptiness is not a lack of connection with people. It is your spirit no longer dwelling on the same frequency level as theirs. You have been waking repeatedly at the same hour in the early morning, heart racing, with an urgency you cannot explain. That is not insomnia. It is an invitation, the touch of the one who wants you to wake up before the rest of the world starts the day's noise, so that you can hear what can only be spoken in silence. If at least one of these signs has touched you, if your shoulders have dropped and a strange certainty has begun to warm your chest in the last moments, type the number 1111 in the comments. Your fingers, typing those numbers, are your spirit saying yes to this alignment. It is the smallest agreement, but the most real one you have ever made with your destiny. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.
Type 1111 and come back here to me. There is a hidden pattern in all of this, a gear you tried to force during this 3-year period. You tried with all your might to make things go back to how they were before, believing your worth was in what you built or what people expected of you. But what you did not realize is that the isolation was the only way God could protect you from paths that did not lead to your true purpose. You were trying to plant seeds in soil that needed rest, and so nothing bloomed. It was necessary for you to go through winter so that the roots of your essence could go much deeper than they ever had. Think of an underground garden. While the surface seemed dry and dead, down below in the dark your root system was strengthening, creating a structure capable of supporting the weight of the harvest you are about to experience from now on. You were not being abandoned, you were being kept in a refuge, preparing your interior for the greatness that your voice will carry from here forward. You are being pruned, and pruning always hurts, but it is the only guarantee that when the time of flowering comes, you will not be just any bush, but a tree whose fruits will feed many others who are still walking through the same wilderness you have just crossed. The pain of isolation was the measure of your new capacity. You have been operating on a frequency that is not yours, trying to tune your spirit to stations that only broadcast noise and emptiness. The diagnosis is clear. You spent 3 years trying to fit into molds that no longer contain the size of your purpose. You felt the weight, the exhaustion of trying to be what the world expected, while your true essence cried out for a pause you never allowed. That pattern of seeking external validation, of positioning yourself as the provider of solutions for people who did not ask for your help, was the mechanism that kept your voice muffled. It was not lack of ability, it was simply using the right energy in the wrong place. Now imagine for a moment your interior as that garden I mentioned. During these 3 years, you were like a seed that was buried, not to be forgotten, but to find the necessary depth. The winter you went through was not a time of punishment, but a time of preparation. The soil was being enriched by your own experience, your pain, the nights you cried without knowing why. All that dryness on the surface was necessary so that your root system could anchor in waters that no one else can reach. You needed that layer of isolation so that when your voice sounded again, it would not carry the echo of others' voices, but only the pure frequency of your own truth. Nature does not rush, and your harvest, which begins now, also cannot be forced. Take a deep breath with me now as this image settles in the deepest part of who you are. If something inside you just aligned, if the image of that garden I showed you fell into a place you finally understand, type the words "I see" in the comments. Let that recognition seal what just landed in your spirit. The act of writing those words makes the witness permanent in your own life record. Type and come back here to me. The solution for this time of silence is not effort, not more work, not a frantic search for answers in paths you have already traveled. The solution is return, unlearning the weight you carried unnecessarily, allowing your being to simply receive what the Creator already deposited there before you even began this journey. You no longer need to fight to be heard, because now your voice carries an authority that comes from rest. Release control over the outcome. Release the need to explain who you are or what you went through. What was silenced by man was preserved by time, and now your voice echoes not because you shouted, but because you finally allowed yourself to be who you always were. It is time to lay down your arms, open your hands, and let the overflow happen. You are no longer in the wilderness. Saturday has arrived, your voice is released, and alignment is your new constant. Something inside you has changed, not just a passing feeling, but a structure that now settles on new ground. If the truth of what was revealed here found an echo in your spirit, if you recognize that this acknowledgement is the confirmation of what the highest always planned, let your light be your wordless amen. It is not about a metric, but a sacred gesture, a silent agreement that what was named here was named with precision, sealing this moment of clarity in your heart so it is not lost in the noise of daily life. Be silent for a brief moment. Breathe. Feel the air fill every part of you while something new establishes itself. There is someone on your path who needs to hear exactly this now, someone you know well, someone whose face just came to your mind as I spoke. Think of that person who has been striving exhaustively, searching in secret for a way out, maintaining a deep silence so as not to show the fatigue consuming them inside. That person is waiting for a sign, and you are the instrument carrying this delivery today. Send this video to them, not as common advice, but as a notification that the time of waiting is changing. Send it, and fulfill your role of being the voice that brings hope to those still walking in the shadow of what was silenced. The time of training your spirit in the wilderness is over. What you lived in the last 3 years was an invisible preparation for the authority that now rests upon your life. Before we take the final step in this experience, type the words "I am the chosen one" in the comments. Do not do it as someone who desires something. Do not do it as someone merely hoping for a change. Type as one who signs a contract with your own destiny. Type slowly, feeling each letter, letting your fingers do what your spirit has already understood. You were chosen for this time, for this season, and to carry the light that now clears your path. Something happened to you in this moment, and the silence you carried for 3 years finds a breaking point today. You have been striving more than the people around you, maintaining a posture of uprightness, while the door seemed locked from the inside, and that wait was not a mistake in the journey, but a time of forging that reaches its peak now. I came here to reveal to you the reason for that silence and what your voice, from today onward, will begin to build. In this encounter, you will recognize the 4 signs that have marked your days as a calling. You will understand the pattern of exhaustion that tried to convince you that you were wasting time when in truth you were being prepared. And before we finish, there is a revelation about your identity that is the exact reason this message reached you on this Saturday. You have been feeling a restlessness that does not originate in what you do, but in who you have become. Perhaps you have noticed that conversations that once brought comfort now sound empty, almost as if you were speaking a language no one else masters. You have been waking systematically at times that feel like messages, a constant awakening that pulls you from sleep to place you in a state of readiness. And more than that, there is a silent certainty growing in your chest that something has changed in the world, even though everything around you seems static and the same. If at least one of these signs has touched you, if you feel that your spirit has been called to an alignment that your eyes cannot yet see, type the number 1111 in the comments. Those digits typed are your recognition that the frequency of your life has shifted. What you lived was not abandonment. What you lived was a wilderness of calibration. During these 3 years, you operated with the feeling of pulling ropes that were no longer attached to anything. You presented yourself to audiences that never paid attention, invested energy in structures that did not contain your new size. But understand, this was necessary. Your spirit needed to be emptied of everything that was not your essence. Imagine a garden that for years was left fallow. Beneath the ground where no one sees, the roots are deepening, seeking waters that the surface does not know. You thought you were forgotten, but you were creating support. You needed the winter so that your root would be strong enough to carry the weight of the fruit that is coming. If that image of the underground garden, growing in darkness to later bloom with authority, touched your soul, and you understand that your silence was actually preparation, type the words I see in the comments. Let that recognition seal what has just been revealed inside you. Type, and come back here to me. Now the solution is not to seek a new path, but to allow the path to come to you. You no longer need to push the door. Your voice, silenced by time, now carries the frequency of clarity. You are no longer operating in weariness, you are operating in surrender. Let your spirit rest, for the time of human effort has ended and the time of manifestation has begun. If something in this revelation confirmed what your spirit was already whispering in the early hours, let your like be your wordless amen. It is not about metrics, it is about the mutual recognition that the truth was named correctly. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this message now. Someone who is exhausted from struggling alone, someone who is maintaining a facade of strength, while inside they feel they are falling apart. Someone whose face just appeared in your thoughts as I spoke. Send this to that person, not as a suggestion, but as a notice that the time of waiting is about to find its end. You feel that the weight on your shoulders, which seemed like a sentence of exile, was actually the necessary soil for your structure to root deeply. For 3 years, the world around you seemed to follow a course you could no longer keep up with, and that did not happen due to lack of ability or merit, but because your calling was being forged in a fire that no one else saw. Take a deep breath now. Let this understanding fill the empty spaces that tiredness left behind. What you lived was a wilderness of calibration, where every word you could not say, every door that did not open, and every night of silent vigil served to refine your frequency. Before we reach the final moment of this recognition, type the words, "I am the chosen one" in the comments, not as a request, but as the affirmation of the identity you sustained throughout this time of waiting. Feel the weight of those words as your fingers touch them on the screen. They are the bridge between what was hidden and what now manifests. Right now, all over the world, other people who crossed the same 3-year wilderness are awakening to the same reality. You are not an isolated case in a labyrinth. You are part of a harvest being prepared for the present time. You are part of something that does not need to announce itself with noise, because the very presence of your new clarity attests to your change. You need to understand that these 3 years of silence were not a punishment, but a time of gestation that required the withdrawal of your energies so that your deepest self could reorganize without the interference of others' expectations. During this interval, you felt as if the outside world kept spinning at a speed that did not concern you, while your own internal rhythm seemed to be tuned to a much finer and more demanding frequency. Many times, the feeling of displacement was so intense that you wondered if your purpose had been removed, or if you simply became invisible to opportunities that once seemed natural. But the truth is that your vibrational field was undergoing a deep cleansing. Everything that did not belong to your destiny was removed layer by layer, so that your voice would not be just an echo of past ideas, but a direct manifestation of the truth that now needs to be heard. Notice how your perception has changed in the smallest details. The places where you once felt comfortable now seem narrow. The conversations that once filled your time now sound like distant noise. And above all, your need for external approval has drastically diminished, giving way to an internal urgency for alignment. If you have noticed that your thoughts are clearer, even if you do not yet know exactly where to apply them, if you feel that the environment around you no longer reflects who you have become, know that this is the evidence that the calibration is complete. If at least one of these signs has touched you, if you recognize that this process of separation was actually a protection for your spirit, type the number 1111 in the comments. Your fingers touching those numbers are your commitment that you are ready to shed the old skin, recognizing that this numerical alignment is the signature of your awakening. The pattern you operated for years was that of trying to fit into structures that were not designed for your magnitude, where you spent most of your energy sustaining bridges that led to places where you should no longer be. The exhaustion was not a lack of faith. It was the result of trying to force a route that had already been closed for your own good. See, the metaphor is of an underground garden that needs a harsh winter so that the roots seek depth before any sprout is visible on the surface. You were in the dark not to be hidden, but to be strengthened on a foundation that no future storm can shake. While everyone sought immediate harvest, you were invited to develop the patience of roots that descend to deep waters. That inner courtyard, that stillness you built, is the soil where your voice will now bloom with an authority you never had before. It is at this exact point where earth meets seed that revelation happens irreversibly. If something inside you just sealed, if the metaphor of the underground garden fell exactly in the place where you felt that 3-year void, type the words I see in the comments. Let that simple act of recognition turn understanding into something concrete, something your mind can no longer ignore. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own life record. Type and come back here to me. The solution for what comes next is not in increasing effort, but in allowing the voice that was silenced during this long cycle of waiting to find its own natural tone. It is not about doing more, but about being who you became in this silence. It is a movement of surrender, of letting go of the ropes you still hold out of habit, and letting the current of your own truth guide you now. When you allow yourself to simply be, without the need to explain your changes to those who cannot keep up with your new frequency, you release a force that was stagnant before. Let your like be your wordless amen as a recognition that this clarity is the answer you sought from the first day of this solitary journey. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this confirmation now, someone exhausted from fighting against the silence, someone who seems to have lost faith in their own trajectory while the door remains closed for them. There is a face that appeared in your mind as I spoke, a person you sense carries the same weight, the same secret search, and the same need to be understood without having to say a single phrase. Send this video to that person, not as common advice, but as a sign that the wilderness is also ending for them, just as it is ending for you. What you carry now is an accumulated charge of light, refined by time, that can no longer be contained in behavior patterns that no longer serve you. During these 1,095 days of withdrawal, every fiber of your being was adjusted to withstand the voltage of the truth you are about to declare. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. What you lived was not a mistake in the journey, but a period of conscious hibernation where your identity was removed from the system of external pressures and returned to your own management. You operated on a mechanism of constant effort, trying to prove worth where delivery was already yours by right, and that inversion of logic caused the wear you felt. It is as if you tried for years to cultivate a garden in the middle of winter, forcing sprouts that needed cold soil to strengthen. Your silence was the necessary winter, the moment when life withdrew to the roots, away from the surface, where no one could see what was being drawn in your soul. If something inside you just sealed, if the image of the underground garden fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words I see in the comments. Let recognition seal where it just landed. Type, and come back here to me. Now the spring of your voice is not an external event. It is an internal explosion that has already begun to change how you perceive your own authority. You are in a state of readiness where what you speak carries the mark of what was tested and approved in the wilderness. Every word you speak from now on is a seed that sprouts in prepared ground because you stopped wasting your verb on those still on the surface. Your calm is your greatest proof that the process has been successfully completed. The solution you have sought so earnestly is not in any new task you need to add to your day, but in the act of simply stopping the fight against the current itself. The return to your voice is a process of unlearning, where you release the reins you held so tightly during these years and allow the natural flow of your truth to take command. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need to justify your light to those who still prefer the shadows of the past. Your voice, now tuned by silence, no longer seeks approval. It merely emits the sound of what is real. Take a deep breath with me. Let the accumulated tension in your shoulders dissipate as you recognize that this softening is not weakness. It is authority. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your light be your wordless amen, not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Someone who has been striving more than everyone around them and still sees the door closed. Someone who walks in silence in a way that no one around can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke, carrying the same mark of silent exhaustion that you carried. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, a notice that their winter is also coming to an end. Before this ends, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments, not as a desire, not as a hope, but as a final confirmation. The agreement formed between heaven and your hearing is a pact of life that you will carry throughout this season. Type slowly. Feel the weight of these words becoming your new identity. You are committed. You are sent. You are being led. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition and awakening to the same truth. You are part of something that does not announce itself with noise, and that is exactly why it is real. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.